A dog circles the empty bed where its companion used to sleep, night after night, waiting for someone who is never coming back. A cat sits by the door, calling out in a voice its owners have never heard before, searching for a friend who will not answer. For decades, scientists insisted this wasn't grief. They said we were projecting our own feelings onto animals who couldn't possibly understand loss. A landmark study just proved them wrong, and what it found will change the way you look at your own pet forever. Here's the thing. For most of modern science, there was an unspoken rule. You were never supposed to say an animal felt something as complicated as grief. Fear, sure. Hunger, obviously. But grief, mourning, that was considered a purely human thing, something too sacred, too complex to hand over to a dog or a cat. Scientists even had a word for breaking that rule. They called it anthropomorphizing, and it was treated almost like an accusation. If you said your dog was sad, you were told you were being sentimental, not scientific. But here's what almost nobody was talking about. The pet owners who lived through it never doubted it for a second. They watched their dog stop eating. They watched their cat stop sleeping in its favorite spot. They watched an animal search room to room, over and over, for a friend who used to be there every single day. And they knew, in their gut, that they were watching grief. It just took science a long time to catch up to what people already understood in their hearts. So what changed? In 2022, a team of Italian researchers did something almost nobody had done before at this scale. They surveyed over 400 dog owners who had lost one dog while another dog in the household was still alive. They asked detailed questions. Did the surviving dog eat less? Did it sleep more or less? Did it become clingier, more anxious, more vocal? Did it search for its companion? And here's the part that gets us every time. More than 80% of owners reported at least one significant behavior change in the surviving dog. Many described dogs that stopped playing entirely, dogs that slept in the spot their friend used to sleep in, dogs that waited by the door at the exact time their companion used to come home from walks. And it wasn't random. The stronger the bond between the two dogs before the loss, the more intense the grief response afterward. Dogs who had shared food, shared naps, shared years of quiet companionship mourned the hardest. Which means this wasn't confusion. It wasn't a dog simply noticing something was different. It was sorrow, measured, documented, and directly tied to the depth of the relationship that had been lost. Around the same time, researchers studying cats found something remarkably similar.
Surveying cat owners after the death of a companion animal, they found cats calling out more often, searching known hiding spots of their lost friend, changing their eating habits, and seeking more affection from their human family than before. The cats weren't just adjusting to a quieter house. They were looking for someone specific. And when that someone never turned up, their whole behavior shifted, sometimes for months. Now, you might be thinking, dogs and cats are one thing. But is there something bigger going on here? Something that goes even deeper than behavior surveys? There is, and this is where it gets remarkable. Researchers studying brain chemistry in mourning animals have found some of the same hormonal responses we see in grieving humans. Elevated stress hormones, disrupted oxytocin patterns, the very same bonding chemical that floods a mother's brain when she holds her newborn, or floods your brain when you greet your dog at the door after a long day. When that bond is suddenly severed, the chemistry doesn't just switch off, it lingers, unanswered, and animals feel that absence in a very real, very physical way. And that brings us to the part of the story that has stayed with people for generations, long before any scientist ever ran a survey. You've probably heard of Hachiko, the dog in Japan who continued walking to the train station every single afternoon for 9 years, waiting for an owner who had passed away and was never coming home on that train again. Or Greyfriars Bobby, the little dog in Edinburgh who kept watch over his owner's grave for 14 years, refusing to leave, even as the seasons changed around him again and again. For a long time, we told these stories as sweet legends, loyalty tales. What we didn't fully understand back then is that we may have been witnessing something much closer to grief itself, playing out in real time, for years, in front of everyone. So here's the question worth sitting with. If a dog can wait 9 years at a train station, if a cat can call out for a friend who will never answer, if the same stress chemistry lights up in their brains as it does in ours, then maybe the line we drew between human grief and animal grief was never as solid as we thought. Maybe love, real love, always comes with the risk of that kind of sorrow, no matter what species is feeling it. And maybe that's actually the beautiful part of all this, not just the heartbreaking one, because an animal that can grieve this deeply is an animal that loved this deeply first. Every quiet moment your dog rests its head on your knee, every time your cat curls up beside you instead of anywhere else in the house, that bond is real. And it runs both ways. Scientists spent decades being afraid to say that out loud. Now the research is finally catching up to what pet owners have known in their hearts all along.
If you've ever watched an animal mourn, a pet searching for a friend, a dog waiting by an empty spot on the couch, we would love to hear that story in the comments below. And if this one touched something in you, even just a little, go ahead and hit that like button. It truly helps this story reach other people who need to hear it. Subscribe if you want more stories like this one, straight from the science and straight from the heart.